Award group number 4. This incident has meritorious honorees and valor honorees in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to announce the different honorees, and then while you're coming up, I'm going to start the incident bio as to what happened, okay? So, award group number 4, Netcong Fire Department, company number 1, meritorious honorees. Assistant Chief Raymond Bach Jr., Lieutenant Jeff Kozowski, Firefighter Mike Kunkel, Firefighter Robert H. Shellhammer. If I could have Chief Dwayne Hartel and Chief Derek Shear, please flank the honorees. We also have from the Stanhope Netcong American Legion Ambulance Corps meritorious honorees, Captain Derek Kunken and Lieutenant Richard Kunken. If I could have Captain Carl Bonafide, please. Award group number 4, Netcong Police Department, Valor Award, Patrolman Matthew Payanessa. If I could have Chief Russ Van Houten, please, and Chief Ross Johnson. And finally, Valor Honoree, Patrolman Robert Popelka of the Stanhope Police Department. If I could have Chief Stephen Pittiger and Chief Ross Johnson, please. This case involves the ice rescue of 3 individuals on Lake Apacon. Sunday, January 16, 2022, the Netcong Police Department, Stanhope Netcong American Legion Ambulance Corps, and the Netcong Fire Department dispatched to Lake Musconetcong in the area of 60 Cockless Drive for the report of a snow vehicle and occupant that had fallen through the ice into the water. Upon Patrolman Matthew Payanessa's arrival, there were people on the ice pointing to the direction of where the individual had fallen through, which was approximately 300 yards from shore. Officer Payanessa began directing people who were on the ice to shore, knowing that the ice was not secure in the area. While doing so, a male, who was approximately 40 yards away from Officer Payanessa, fell through the ice into the water. Officer Payanessa maneuvered his way to the second victim, and without regard for his own safety, attempted multiple times to pull him from the icy waters. After several failed attempts, Patrolman Robert Popelka from the Stanhope Borough Police Department arrived, went into the ice without regard for his own safety, and provided a rope to assist in the rescue. Utilizing the rope, the officers, dressed only in their standard duty uniforms, were able to pull the victim from the water, and he returned to shore. A few seconds later, a female victim fell through the ice. Officer Payanessa began making his way to the woman. Officer Popelka was approximately 20 yards away from the woman. Assistant Chief Raymond Bach Jr. from Netcong Fire Department, company number 1, arrived and provided the woman with a rescue rope and handed the other end to Officer Popelka. Captain Derek Kunken from Stanhope Netcong American Legion Ambulance Corps arrived with BLS Ambulance 2832 and provided Assistant Chief Bach Jr. with an ice rescue sling, which was secured to the woman by Assistant Chief Bach. Officers Payanessa and Popelka, Assistant Chief Bach, and Captain Kunken assisted in bringing the female victim to shore, where she was turned over to an EMS unit for further treatment. As additional resources arrived, including Netcong Fire Department Company number 1 and additional units from Stanhope, the rescue began for the first man, who had fallen through the ice on his dirt bike 300 yards from shore. Utilizing ice rescue suits, a sled meant for ice rescues, and other miscellaneous equipment, Captain Kunken, along with Lieutenant Jeffrey Kozowski and firefighters Michael Kunken and Bob Shellhammer, began the rescue of the man. Captain Kunken and firefighters Kozowski and Shellhammer began making their way to the victim. Upon reaching the victim, it was determined that there was an approximately 15 yards of open water between the ice shelf the rescuers were on and the ice shelf the victim had pulled himself onto. Firefighter Kozowski swam through open water and pulled himself onto the next ice shelf to provide the victim with an ice rescue sling as a flotation device. Firefighter Kunken began bringing the Marsar sled from shore from Assistant Chief Bach and Lieutenant Richard Kunken of Stanhope. Due to the distance from shore, multiple reels of rope were needed to ensure the sled was able to reach the victim. When the first reel of rope was used, Lieutenant Kunken secured the sledge rope to himself as he was secured to a rope on the shore. Firefighter Kunkin then continued to bring the sled out to the open water. Once at the open water, Firefighter Kunkin and Shellhammer and Captain Kunkin swam with the sled through the open water and climbed onto the next ice shelf. The victim was then secured to the sled, at which time rescuers signaled to be pulled in, and those subjects were pulled in from the open water. Once on shore, the man was turned over to an additional EMS unit for assessment. All rescues returned to shore. Captain Kunkin and Lieutenant Kunkin then began to assist in the treatment of the victims. Due to the distance of the victim from shore, most of the shore operations were conducted on the ice. On the ice, there are many people that assisted in shore operations. There are firefighters Mark Sylvester and Chad DiRupo, Frank Scott, Officer Payanessa and Popelka, and other members from their respective agencies. EMS units on scene later transported the woman to a local hospital for further treatment. The other two victims refused further medical treatment at the scene. Assisting departments and agencies on scene included Netcong Police Department, Stanhope Police Department, Netcong Fire Company No. 1, Stanhope Ambulance, Morris County Office of Emergency Management, and St. Clair Paramedics. While not directly involved in the rescue, the assistance of multiple members from each agency resulted in a successful operation. While an ice rescue is considered part of the job, this was by no means a standard rescue. Due to the extremely thin ice at this location on the lake and the need to travel through open water, the first responders were extremely lucky that they themselves did not become victims. The incident, originally dispatched as an incident with one victim, quickly turned into 3 rescues due to the unsafe conditions. All the victims were rescued and survived due to the quick and effective actions of those on scene. These first responders went above and beyond the call of duty while acknowledging the risk to themselves and their own personal safety. Due to the extensive distance from shore and the open water needed to be maneuvered, the first responders had to think on their feet to effectuate the rescue while putting their own safety aside. There was a very positive outcome on this job, and these officers should all be commended for their actions. Congratulations. Thanks. Congratulations.
Thank you, John. Congratulations. Nice man. Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. Congratulations. Great job. Nice job.